See, I told you it was a test, guys.
Yep.
Is that what this is? All right. Very well. It's a test. I have plans within plans. I see two great people feuding, and I see you behind it. No, anyway. All right. Do your thing, guys, and I'll be right back. Love to see you all, by the way.
What if Neil and Dave are talking right now, and they're just like, "Hey, how's it going? What's up?"
We're gonna let these guys see how they go. Can they hang with them?
So, I say we jump into the Electric Universe page.
Welcome to the January 22nd edition of the Electric View. I'm Neil Thompson. Today we have Dave, Jim, Heather, Buddy, Eugene, Richard, Edwin, and Robert. By stroke of coincidence, the gang is left on its own without Fred or Scoobie and set us on a path leading to the machinations of weather control, the ideas of the Dogon People, and the meteor which hit the moon the other day. Please take a moment to like and subscribe.
If you could go to that, Facebook, there is some electric universe architecture and things that a new group that we started up. And it describes basically what we've been talking about on the last couple of episodes a little bit here and there, about the buildings being built in the past for to be some sort of power interceptor to intercept power from space somehow, either transformation or transmission from Birkeland currents or alternative energy from the air. A lot of buildings in cathedrals we see they have the what are those? The spires and the domes. And St. Elmo's fire just comes to mind right off the bat, thinking about this stuff, which is like the little plasma ionizing on the peaks and points of different buildings, like at the top of them, and even like boats and ships. It's been spotted on lots of ships throughout history. Which makes me wonder if it's more likely to happen out in the ocean, out in sea with more vapor going on. Because people have seen these St. Elmo's fire on a lot of ships. So that was just a running thought. If anybody knows much about St. Elmo's fire, I don't know too much about it, but I'm curious.
Well, I'm kind of interested about
ships a lot, but back in the day.
I'm kind of interested about the domes that you mentioned. So I can see how the spires might be especially designed to produce that kind of, corona discharge or whatever. But what about the domes? Why are they so prominent, so frequently appearing everywhere? Maybe it was, on the contrary, kind of a way to, let's say, distinguish these types of phenomena or something, like provide shelter.
Maybe because it was hard to keep the rain out, so they tried to figure out the best way to keep the rain out without having to build a big long tower on top of it. Because if you look at peaks and stuff like that, a lot of the time it's really high and hard to build, I would think. And for the runoff of the rain, it might be easier to build a dome so that it just falls off equally. And then, gosh, now we don't have to build another huge spire coming off of this cathedral.
Well, domes are acoustic too.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. There's a lot of reasons, but that was just a random shot in the dark.
Ordinances. What I understood in the Masons always, when they built buildings with steeples and hard angles on them, like triangular steeples, that was more for wisdom and intelligence gaining, and domes were for more governance. That's why you put them over like governmental buildings and like Congress and.
It's almost like it's almost. You saying that reminds me of like you want to keep a secrecy, almost like
we want
to keep this
concealed. It was an esoteric form, but like it was basically harnessed on using earth materials to gain harness light to gain knowledge.
Well, if you're trying to put a roof over a space without a lot of columns, and you're using, say, bricks for building material, then nothing works but a dome. I guess you could have a bunch of arches. You could have, like
right,
like a Quonset hut, but basically that curved structure is the only thing you could use with bricks. And a lot of times, these places, they were using sun-dried bricks or whatever for construction. They didn't have a lot of wood, or certainly didn't have metal.
Yeah,
I think that way a lot about the pyramids as well. It's just naturally one of the first things that you build. You build a big structure. How do you build it bigger? You build a bigger base. You start with a bigger base, you get a bigger structure. So I think that's how pyramids just started propping up all over the world. I mean, sure, there's lots of theories of why and where and whatever, but I think it's just like intuitive. An intuitive artist here speaking I think I draw all sorts of mandalas or whatever. And then I go and I look, and I've been doing this since I was a kid. And I'm like, where are these images coming from? Where is all this stuff? Like, these aren't my designs. And then I'd go and I'd find them. And then I'd look up Paisley. And Paisley was a design from the 70s. And I'm like, wow, I've been drawing that. And there's a name for it. Like intuitively picking up off of these things naturally, because it's the first fundamental that someone would create something like that. Pyramids, like you just said, domes, just because it was the easiest way to do it. And that's kind of where I was getting at with how are we going to stop getting the rain in here, guys? We need to cover this. Quick, put a dome on it. All right, done. Next, But you got to remember that it was very intentional. Everything was very intentional with all these cathedrals and with acoustics, and so it might be a combination of both, if not many other things, as well as superiority, because it might be hard to build a dome. So you come to my country and we got domes all over, and you're still trying to figure out how to build one, Like this right here. This is if you look at this, you can envision my idea of the reverse Birkeland current and capturing the flow. Imagine a Birkeland current slipping on top of that building. That's a real building in Dubai right now.
That's the Princess Tower, ain't it?
It is what's that? Khalifa, something Khalifa.
Oh, okay.
Building.
Anyways, I was right by this building when it was right about here in construction. I was on a tour in the Navy. They weren't finished with construction yet, and I was driving right by it, and even with this angle approach, it still looked like it was curving out over me. I got vertigo just looking up.
Oh.
That's how bad.
Yeah, I went up it. I've been at the top of it. Yeah, definitely.
Right.
It's really, really, really tall. It takes a minute to get up there on the elevator, and there's like it dwarfs everything around it. Everything.
So around the idea of this, it shattered records all around the world, and it's still, I think, the tallest building.
Yeah.
But it looks like those are different phase potentials or different currents inside of a Birkeland current. And if you slipped a Birkeland current right on top of that like a condom, it could draw the power right directly out of it, is what I'm saying. If that's not what that is, then I think that can be designed. I think that something like this can be designed and harness the energy of the sun and maybe follow the rotation of the sun as these collimated cylindrical solenoids are rotating. There can be mirrors and mirrors inside of the structure that take the light. Well, this is two separate ideas that I'm going off on, but the first idea is that possibly whilst building the Tower of Babel, when we were trying to reach the heavens, and we might have did it. Was what I'm saying. We might have actually built the right type of structure, and started getting so high that we hit something, or we tapped into something, and all of a sudden, boom! All of us are speaking different languages and speaking in tongues and listening to other people speaking tongues, and interpreting, and all of this confusion.
Scrambled, we couldn't understand what each other was saying.
That too. It could have been a reboot. It could have been. That's what happens when you tap into the tower. That's what happens when you tap into the power and harness of a Birkeland current. And if a human is around it, that could be one of the side effects. But if you look at obelisks all around the world, they do this. They could potentially be creating a polar a polar reference to create like a vortical stability, which then creates this vortex energy around it. And I mean, if you look at the capital here in the United States, we took a lot of the obelisks directly from Egypt, and if anybody had one stone wrong or broke it or anything happened, they were sentenced to death. They died because it had to be perfect. It had to be resurrected exactly the way that it was built in Egypt. And these could be tapping into what we've been talking about too, that plasma ether energy from the ionosphere when it was closer to the Earth. And we could see these currents like that right there. If you look at this picture, that's what I'm talking about. This image is what gave me the idea for the reverse Birkeland currents, because there's a flow going outward and there's a flow going inward. So we should be able to harness both, if not one or the other. And that might be what the HARP project was trying to do with the auroral high frequency emissions. If you look at the towers, they're very similar to this structure too. The towers in the HARP project, all over, and I guess they have HARP projects all over the world now. They claimed that they shut it down, but now there's just more of them all over. Which, what are they tapping into? Are they tapping into the? HARP. I think it's high auroral high atmospheric auroral research program.
The phase array radar. I mean, that's how they do it. They could direct with radar. They can direct beams by adjusting the phase. So
2A, H-A-A-R-P. There you go. And they're all over. Look at that grid, that lattice there, that they're in formation.
Whoops.
But this is a really efficient formation, because I've also seen underwater wave tracking grids, like set up to track different levels of the waves, set up in a similar fashion with buoys underwater, because it's a very efficient way to collect data, three-dimensional plane.
It's a space filling array. Basically, they're space filling it with, I think, a cubic field. It looks like a cubic field lined array lattice. Look at that. I know it's fake, but it looks pretty.
Cubic. Yeah.
So, we were talking a little bit about reverse Birkeland currents. I don't know if that's a thing yet, but I've been talking about it, and I've been conceptualizing it and showing what I think we could possibly could have been in the past tapping into, and possibly right now currently with some of the buildings that they're building. If you look at them, a lot of them have spiral structure too, for the rotation and the counter rotation. but we hopped onto the HARP thing because that is what actually I am talking about, is harnessing the auroral potential, and bringing that. Imagine bringing that, or a spicule or a chapel. Oh, can you go back 1 second to that last right there? Like that looks like a Birkeland current itself, and imagine if you had a building that slid right over, and you could tap into the different layers as a dynamo generator.
I wonder what they say they're using there.
Oh, you know what that is. They always blame that on what are those jet rockets that?
Oh, the SpaceX rockets.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a dispensed rocket. It's leaking lethal shit all over.
Right.
No one has to worry. It's pretty though. Go to bed.
Swamp gas.
Do you think this latest sudden stratospheric warming might be man-made? Because there have been some recent experiments about, again, heating up the ionosphere.
Well, they're testing all over the world. They're seeding clouds in China. They've been doing it for decades. This is just a fact. But yeah, possibly this could be like we were talking in prior episodes. Someone somehow attempting to condense parts of the atmosphere, like bringing in the ionosphere closer. That would be really cool if we could do that. I'm just hoping that that's what they're doing, because that'd be kind of cool. I want to see all of Neil's stuff that he says come true. with the snakes of plasma running across the ground through the rocks, and the only way you can be safe is to carry around copper. And I guess to carry around copper away from you, so you'd have to have it grounded on a stick. So all the stuff. Wouldn't that be weird? Think about walking around if there was plasma snakes, rivers of plasma snakes. You'd have to have copper and a staff. And think about it. You'd have to probably ground that staff so that you didn't get shocked. And you'd have to slowly walk and drag the staff with you, or put it in something so that you were protected from these snakes. And this is totally thinking, biblical too. A lot of biblical stories there.
What's this thing with copper? I mean, that's kind of come up this morning, which is interesting. But that's been floating around for me, biologically and historically.
Jim, tell us about the Dogons and the copper, please.
Oh, just that they use that as they had to know about the current that could flow in it, because that's what they use as a description then of, on the solar system scale. When they're talking about how the solar system was made, they say the sun was surrounded by copper spirals, but the significance of that is that they had already described that both copper and the sun's rays carry this water that's composed of the two opposites, the male and the female. But once you get that analogy that they're really talking about plasma, then they paint a picture that's more like the modern, our worldview than the modern scientific worldview. They say the solar system is in that those copper spirals, and that's what causes the sun to move the way it does. So that's definitely not a mainstream picture that you're getting.
Sounds like Nikola Tesla and alternating current directly to me.
Aren't these male and female aspects in this case just different terms for negative and positive charge?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, because they talk about the solar system, the planets and sun being created from the waters, but they're not using water like the way we use water, because they describe water as made of the male and the female, and that it flows in the sun's rays and in copper. So that gives you the idea that they're talking plasma
Jim,
electricity and not water flow, obviously.
so I'm really curious the how many points of reference we have for this type of information, or is it all coming out of Laird Scranton? Because
what's interesting is Laird is the one that he's convinced they have all this knowledge, but Laird is basically mainstream as far as the physics part. What he's trying to do is show that the Dogon have this knowledge of, solar fusion happening, fusion happening inside the sun, gravitational collapse. But then the picture he paints is it's actually the very picture that we have of the sun traveling on these coiling things that carry current, and that the sun's motion is controlled by that. And the formation is by fission, where the earth is created by being thrown off from the sun. And so all his translations are actually giving a nice Birkeland current picture. And what's really great about it, though, is that he's trying to interpret it as it's kind of in the standard model. So that's where that whole picture, like when the Dogon are talking about these fibers in space that come down carrying the male and female pairs in coils. And I mean, that's exactly Birkeland currents they're talking about. But then when he sees that, he realizes that modern science knows about the double helix structure of DNA. So he thinks that in that story, they're suddenly talking about human DNA. But the whole Dogon narrative is still on the creation story of our sun and earth. And they're using those double helix structures at that scale. So that's what's fascinating. And there's even things I have to reread because I didn't know about vessel function filaments the first time I read Laird's book. And I'm remembering now there was something about a star traveling out at one, tracing out a shape, and then coming back inside and tracing out the same shape, but inside the first shape. And that's the way charge flows in a vessel function filament. So that's bizarre. So in other words, you shouldn't be matching the Dogon worldview to modern mainstream science. If modern mainstream science is wrong, obviously they didn't duplicate all the same mistakes. But even, where the Dogon say that Sirius B was the densest type of star out there, that actually fits more with the EU view than the mainstream view. The mainstream says, no, there's neutron stars, there's black holes. The Dogon say, nope, a white dwarf is about the densest you get. So it's actually amazing. It's more like our worldview than the mainstream worldview that they're sharing, and probably with pieces that we still have to put together.
So Laird reached out to me after he saw some of the drawings I do in regards to the cycles, the Caliuga cycles. That's actually my dog's middle name, Caliuga. But he saw the similarities in my images and the cyclicity of it, and immediately was like, boom, this is what this is, this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who's this guy? And this was like last year, maybe 5-6 months ago, when we were talking about it a little bit. And I'm glad we're getting back into it because, yeah, oh my gosh, who is this guy?
It'd be great to talk to him, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, see, I met him at CPAC too, and you could see why all these guys congregated there. Like Robert Schoch. Once you start dating the Sphinx to thousands of years ago, and Laird with the idea that the Dogon had this knowledge, it all takes you back to the same path, that basically somebody had to have known at one time a lot more than we do now. There had to be some, advanced civilization here.
What's the? I'm curious. Just watching these images makes me think. What's the water source of the Nile? Where does that water come from? Is it special? Is it pure? Can we see a map of what the heck's going on? Because it seems like that's the Fertile Crescent right there. Maybe if we could look into that, or but I'm curious anyway. I don't know what the source of the Nile is.
Don't all jump in at once.
I didn't know.
No, it's okay.
To see David, if you were going to check it out or not.
I was just like I like the break the pause there. So. But the thing, the Fertile Crescent, I believe, is the Tigris-Euphrates area. But the thing about the Nile is that it's very unique in that it runs north. So.
Okay.
So, but that's my my chicklets knowledge on it.
All right, I'm going to pull up a map to see.
So this is Laird. We're looking at Laird right now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I think Robert, are you still steering?
I can steer if you want, but however you want.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just wrapping up that machine. I'm cleaning up that batch of silver I made. So if you want to take a control, go ahead.
Sure.
That's why there was a pause there, I think, actually. Otherwise, you're so good at it, David. You already been there.
No, it's okay. It's good to see people like practicing and learning, and whatever we're doing here, it's certainly fun, and it's nice to have other people doing it too and watch. So yeah. So how about that moon, huh? That was a moon.
It was full. Did anybody's mood change from the moon?
It's pretty powerful, it felt to me. I don't know.
I was going through some strange shit, that's for sure.
Pretty crazy shit here. So.
By the way, there was a meteor strike at the moon during the eclipse.
Really?
Yeah.
Did we get it on film?
Yeah, actually, at least 3 different people did.
Sweet. I want to see it.
Let's see if we can find it.
That's where you come in. Thank you, David.
Okay. Now under pressure, meteor strike.
Speaking about the Nile, it starts somewhere in the mountains. You know where Kilimanjaro is, roughly somewhere there, in the eastern equatorial part of Africa, basically, where you have all these rifts.
So it's a bunch of rivers coming together to form it?
Yeah, there are like 2 major ones, the White Nile and the Blue Nile, and they unite together to form like the Nile.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you think about it, I mean, my thinking goes to water a lot, and if there was something special going on around that area, it might have been what was in the water. So then I think about, well, where's that source of water? And that's what got me thinking about that. And a lot of people think that it was a hydrologically or hydroelectrically run city where water was running the different power. I've seen different theories like that throughout the Great Pyramid and other pyramids along the Nile. That's a UFO, dude.
Griffith, that's right here.
Well, it kind of actually might be electrical if you think about it.
That one looks electrical.
I mean, if the moon is in our magnetotail, although it's not quite because it's kind of curved, but it might be. I mean, moon is in our shadow after all, so there would be potential differences just because of the different illumination. But it could also be the magnetotail part. You know, it's actually not a big secret right now that there are electric breakdown of the lunar soil when it's in our magnetotail. And this is considered to be one of the mechanisms of evolution of lunar soil, if you like, along with, just radiation from space and things like that. But, well, for example, there was another occasion when such meteor was detected, and they found a crater afterwards. But again, maybe it was like an electric crater, I don't know. Yeah, I've been reading some material on the magnetospheric physics lately, as part of my, preparations for Ben's conference. And there seemed to be lots of really mysterious stuff there, like there was one great book called Earth's Magnetosphere Formed by Low Latitude Boundary Layer, which I like because the author kind of directly addresses all these problems, kind of trying to be honest, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And it is pretty cool. So, for example, he kind of stresses that people usually don't think about the sources of energy for the acceleration of charged particles in our magnetosphere. Whereas, for example, during the solar storms, like magnetic storms, one can see like particles accelerating suddenly to like several mega electron volts, like out of nowhere, and there's just a huge amount of actually Birkeland currents running back and forth in the magnetosphere, and it's actually very kind of pleasing for an EU person to read all this stuff because there's currents everywhere, so it's kind of comforting. So people kind of directly state, oh, there's a field aligned current, there is a electric potential drop parallel to the motion of particles and things like that.
I love.
But the point is that there are many problems that are yet unsolved, and by the way, this magnetic reconnection is certainly one of them. But okay, yeah.
That's a real challenging one. Just looking at the geometry of that, magnetic reconnection and what actually happens there.
Yeah, I've had an idea that I've described in my letter to Ido, mm-hmm. And you are actually also on that loop, I think.
Oh,
that magnetic reconnection. Well, I just had an insane analogy that between magnetic reconnection and some of the phenomena in high energy, like subnuclear physics, strong mm-hmm. interaction physics. Like one of the crucial pieces of evidence for quarks, for example, is the fact that during the collisions of hadrons, these strong interacting particles, like for example protons and neutrons, those are also hadrons. So when they collide at high energies, you can observe two jets, counter-directed jets of other hadrons, and it is supposed that those jets are formed by quarks. So initial collision kind of destroys the particle, and it kind of falls apart into quarks. But the quarks are not observed in the free state. So there's a mysterious process called hadronization, whereas the initially free quark becomes not free again. So it kind of dresses up into other particles and forms new hadrons. Those are called hadron jets. Yeah, so what is really observed in experiments are these pairs of counter-directed jets, and I thought that and during reconnection the same thing is observed. So supposedly you have this one configuration of magnetic fields which has this kind of X, I don't know how to call it. Well, certain geometry, let's put it like that, which then suddenly changes into other geometry. And it kind of, it is, at the same time, there is an energy release, basically. And there is also 2 jets of ions from this process going in opposite directions with the Alfvén speed.
Wow.
In plasma, yeah. So I had this idea that maybe, well, you know, this narrative that maybe there is no nuclear force, maybe it's all electromagnetic. So I thought that, well, maybe something like reconnection happens there. I'm not saying that we understand how exactly reconnection happens. I'm just saying that there's, in my opinion, an analogy here. So if we understand one part of this, one realization of this process, maybe we would understand the other also.
Right.
Are you talking about on a cellular level, an atomic level as well?
This is those phenomena are on like smaller than nuclear level. We're talking about the structure of protons essentially, and other particles like that. So it's a very, very small scale.
What do you know? What's your ideas about proton resonance, and what is proton resonance? And I don't know if you know Nassim Haramein. If you have any comments about him.
I'm actually not sure what you mean by proton resonance. Resonance with what?
Well, from what I understand, Nassim Haramein, who is founder of the Resonance Foundation and the Resonance Academy, he goes off in some weird directions, that's for sure, as a lot of us do. But he talks about resonance, proton resonance, always being emitted out of the proton. This like resonance coming out of it. Can you speak to that at any degree?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean, but I can. I mean, if this term was basically invented by this guy, well, I'm not the one who you should ask about it.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know if he discovered it, or you know a lot more being a physicist. I was wondering if it was a real thing. I mean, because I read it in papers other than him too.
This guy,
well, there is a
one more frequency, and there's a pseudo processional idea with it too. You know, like gyroscope.
There is a kind of particles that are called resonances, but they are only called resonances because, well, it's like a historical name. It's not because they resonate with something themselves. Maybe he was speaking about these particles, and they might be emitted in, you know, the strong interaction processes, including the ones with protons. So maybe that's what he's talking about. But
I will definitely share some links because he draws some fascinating work together, and I met the co-writer of his paper was at the Electric Universe, Rausch. I forgot her first name, maybe Anne Rauscher. But yeah, she was at the EU conference, and I was blessed to be graced by her presence momentarily. But yeah, that's why I was curious, because I know that a lot of people know about it, but I don't know, some people don't know about it to different degrees. So I'll share some papers, definitely. It gets good. He does scale unification.
I need to get like a little thing that has like a little button that I push, and it gives like the angelic choir sound. So every time he says "blessed in grace," I can go "ah," like that, and blessed to be on the thing.
How many times do I say that? I was blessed to be graced by presence.
Yeah, I love it.
You have to, like the button that would play the secret chord, you know.
Or the button that shares a link right up
too.
You guys are great. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt. It was just funny, and it came to my head. I may or may not do that. We'll see what happens. Anyway, come on.
That thing's on the table.
It's on the table. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Dave, could you
We're
please
doing
look
sound
up
effects now? So
Right.
Hey,
Right.
could you
Drops.
please look
They call
up-
it drops. I think.
Drops? Oh, that,
Yeah.
Well, no, I meant I was going to get music for the big show, right? So I figured I was
Yeah,
looking for
but I
something.
mean, we could do it live. You know, if we didn't know
Oh,
that.
don't even. It'd be like a radio show in the morning. It's like, with that horn that goes like
Right.
that. Yeah. Like, yeah. Anyway, please go on, guys.
Could you please look up scale unification?
Mhm.
Because that's what brings my attention to all this. And this paper has received some awards in some various places. Yeah, scale unification for all organized matter.
There's not him. He's
Yeah.
he's very interesting. He's become a prominent character. But
Yeah, he's always huge. He's like at the forefront of the movement of all of this.
He definitely has popularity, and he sells an idea. Although you can tell that I don't want to say, but like David Icke or whatever the guy's name is, he sees ammunition in our group, like in the Electric Universe. Like he's like, oh, that looks like it's compelling. Grab, takes little things here and there. But I like also the fact that he says things about logic that are clear. Like when he says the Big Bang thing, and he had a big thing, and he was like, okay, so the Earth expanded. Okay, well, who's this guy? And he pointed to the guy that was blowing the universe up with his lungs. Where's this guy? And I thought that was a really good thing to point out, and I laughed. And, little things like that he points out that, flaws in logic. So I don't say I agree with everything he says, but some of the things have piqued my interest in thinking, never thought of it that way before. So
it opens up a new avenue for considering things, for sure.
Oh, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But
So
please continue your wonderful
You can see fee coming out all over the place here. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll put this in the chat so we got it.
It's actually pretty cool. So I see some of the arrangements look like they'd probably be 1.608 to 1 type stuff. Yeah, I can see that. Not know for sure, but there is a certain elegance to it. That number appears everywhere anyway. So
he talks about basically the protons being miniature black holes, and they're connected to larger black holes, and it's all a whole sequence of black holes and black holes and black holes, and so I mean, call it a Z-pinch, call it a black hole, whatever. He did some math.
How can proton emit something if it's a black hole? But proton do emit.
Well, that's what Hawking was talking about, Hawking radiation, before he passed away. But then he said it didn't exist right before he passed.
Well, he questioned everything just before he passed, which is actually nice to see.
Yeah. I'm slipping. I could have been wrong.
Maybe there is a God. I hope.
No, he didn't say that.
No.
I don't think he got.
No, but let's just be honest. Although it's never discussed, I'm positive that all the dead people were saying, so when you were dying, did you question that too? It's like, yeah, totally. I didn't think I'd be here. I thought I'd be dirt, man. But no, now I'm sitting in the room. I had no idea that the heaven was just like an endless pool hall where people smoked cigarettes and drank beer and shot pool together. It's much better than I thought. Oh yeah, no, it's very good atmosphere. Good atmosphere here.
Well, actually, you can draw near-death experiences to vivid understanding of Birkeland currents whilst going down the tunnels. And if you understand,
there you go, buddy. That's what you explore in the electric community.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good topic. Very good topic. The light at the end of the tunnel.
You'll be on Flatliners 3. It'll be a great movie.
But there's similarities there. I mean,
He's got an interesting thing going. I mean, he's set up in Hawaii, and he's got trips to Egypt. So it's a combination of this kind of idea of linking deep ancient geometrical considerations with modern science, and then incorporating spirituality into it. So
and architecture, and
yeah.
Emily just my ex just went out and met with him out in Peru, and yeah, I forgot there was something else I was going to say about Nassim. Oh, Jake,
what'd you think of him?
Actually, they moved to LA, and Jake got invited to be in the academy, Resonance Academy. I don't know if he would tell you that is news, but he broke that news to me a couple days ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and he says that he's sure that I will get my invitation. He wants to get his foot in the door, and he's like, I want to see where I'm at, and I want to get you in and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's not the door that I want to go walk through. But thank you.
The Hawaii thing. Oh, with that, because he's he's clearly a serious ego. For sure.
Oh, really?
I mean,
maybe you might think.
I think I'd rather go with Chris Dunn and Brian Forrester and those boys, and be there and be the ammo that they use for other people. That would be nice. Because they seem like, I don't want to say more rigorous, but I am. So
yeah, that's true.
They're good guys. I'm sure he's a great guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure, but.
Well, just a few things. I mean, when you watch his Through the Black Hole series, which is when I was introduced to him back in like 2010, 2011.
Back in the day.
When you look at that, he basically introduces the isotropic vector matrix and then starts a movement. And the isotropic vector matrix was already released and delivered with one false swoop and with a nice bow on top by Bucky.
Yeah,
and so
there's
he just
a lot
walked
of stuff
out.
That hijacking. Yeah,
he just walked out on stage, and he's like, and then I thought this, and it's like, no, bro, sit down. Like, but anyway.
I like the stories where he's really. There is an obsession with him as far as the story goes of him. I mean, I have to find this out because this was way too compelling, and he definitely puts a nice introduction into like how he got from point A to point B. To introduce this concept and have it as an imperative for him.
That's a big stream there, isn't it?
It's a stream.
What altitude is this?
Where do I have it?
We don't know.
Let's see.
250, whatever those are.
Pascals. Hectopascals. It goes opposite. So.
Yeah, SFC must be surface or something.
That's the highest. So it's
height and pressure or something, I guess. Which is neat.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God we're... Surface looks normal. Yeah.
Yeah. But up near the top. Let's go up higher.
Oh, we're in the...
It's right there. It's at that level where it's the strongest.
This could be funny, like you could actually
it's interesting.
probably...
layer again, as far as vertical.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like each layer is slightly different. Like I wonder if they... well, this is what we were talking about. Layers in plasma layers, weak double layers up in the atmosphere. Each layer on top of another layer. Look at that twist there too, going into California.
You get the smoothing at the top. This is the highest.
Yeah, that's what it's like. Yeah. We're just like almost 100% EM at that point.
And then when you come down, let's see. It's unfortunate this takes up so much of the screen.
Yeah, I suppose. God, what a great program too.
Yeah, no, it's great. Luke is over here. He called recently, so
from Hawaii.
Yeah. Did you meet him, Neil, when he at the conference?
I might have.
Probably
met a ton of people. So
yeah, but he was in Indonesia. He lived in Indonesia
Womack, right?
for right.
Yeah,
yeah, and but he's moved over there, and he's just he's got like a heredity background from the islands there, so he's loving it. But it's certainly active,
Oh yeah. I love every time I see this wonderful, like that's like an eye right there, where your mouse is pointing.
Right here, yeah. Look, yeah.
And I'm really amazed that they managed to figure some of this stuff out, and like the first people to figure this out was the guys who figured out trade winds. Like sailing, like that. Basically, this is how he got across. Columbus, I guess, at that time, got across the ocean, is he went down closer to the equator where it's going that way, took the wind all the way to...
Wouldn't that have been Magellan?
I think was that the first one?
Magellan, didn't he go around the world?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was thinking in the Atlantic
But that
Ocean.
was like 20 years after Columbus.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, they found that they took a risk on the trade roads, and then they went. He arrived in the Caribbean, and then they went up the coast until the winds were going the other direction, and took him back. But this is when he went up there, and this is why the Oak Island thing's really weird, because who did that? And it's a perfect spot to leave from. It's like...
Is that a bong?
A what?
A bong?
A bong? Oh, here. Yeah, it is.
It is. What the hell?
Wow. And Twinkies.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Whew. I thought that was like a historical
like
picture. I was like, what am I
history,
looking
right?
at?
Stone history. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we can do that. I mean, this alone bothers me. If there are cocaine mummies, and then they went to Peru, right? Like, what? Why is this a debate? I'm always confused about that. It's like, but that can't possibly be. Well, yeah, but, it is. Like, it is. And the way cocaine is, that no one's going to have any left over. I mean, unless Keith Richards was alive then, and he's like, no, I'm hoarding it all, man.
Hey, keep it kid friendly. My kid just got in the car.
What? I'm talking about ancient mummies.
Oh,
Kinda.
that's what I thought.
Well, they did, have it in bases in the pyramids.
It's fine.
Indigenous
You
to
can talk
South
about
America.
I was listening to some of the stuff where they're talking about the Panama Canal and the Suez Canal be like pre-doing it the time that we know as the first time in history, that they were done before. That's a pretty interesting idea.
Well, there
There's
have
indications
been some
that they were. Yeah.
there have been some ancient ideas. I don't know about the Suez, but I've heard about the Panama. But then again, we don't really know for sure.
Well, there was one in Velikovsky's work. I can't remember. Peoples of the Sea or Ages in Chaos, where it was maybe a canal that was dug out by the Egyptians, where it went out somewhere on the Red Sea, and then so they could circumnavigate Africa and come reapproach back up the Nile River, and that they had a documentation of that.
I'm kind of baffled why there is a different water level at the both sides of this Panama Canal.
Yeah.
It's really kind of stupid. I mean, it should be related to these currents, ocean currents. I think, at least. But with regards to Africa, there's this blog, Malaga Bay. I'm sure you've heard about it. So he kind of there was a recent paper that spoke about the measurements of the magnetic fields like, paleomagnetism, like
Right.
people studying rocks and stuff. Like literally, it came out maybe a month ago. This guy on Malaga Bay, he kind of used that to show that maybe Africa was kind of rotated a little bit in a few, like maybe a couple of thousands of years ago, and it was really interesting. So maybe there was waterway of some sort not so long ago.
It's clear the Egyptians and Romans both did that. Plus, there's a bunch of ancient canals up by like St. Petersburg and stuff, and they're hugely long, and they were called defensive structures, but no one could figure out what they were for. That New Earth lady was pointing them out too. I thought that was like weird. Look at that electric strike right in the middle of the Panama Canal. Take that.
Oh, this?
No, just the river system kind of looks electric. That's all I meant. Like,
yeah.
Screw your canal.
It's one way to make a canal.
There you go. That's how you do it. That's how the Romans did it. They just used electricity. Yep. Mm-hmm. I still can't believe that Cicero had a recording of the time when an entire city was destroyed by a 5-mile wide lightning bolt. Like that blows my mind just thinking about it. And
wait, what? That's the first I heard of this.
Well, yeah, the
Right.
historian Cicero recorded that the Etruscans, the people who came before them, the city just up the coast, was hit by a 5-mile wide lightning bolt and was destroyed. And
yeah, it was Volsinium.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
where the modern Lago di Bolsena, this lake, is situated. It's very circular. No, it's S. VOLS. What? Not C. Not C. V.
Sorry. My keyboard is positioned weirdly, so I can't see.
Well,
I can't see the keys. I have to do it like a. See, right. See. And then when I'm criticized, I get worse. So
don't worry about it. In reverse.
What are you doing?
See?
Mini love. Let's talk about mini love, baby.
It ends up like going pretty well. Spell it slowly for me. That would be great.
You can Google the lake. BOLSENA. Lake, yes.
Okay.
This is the lake that supposedly is on the same place where the city was.
Oh.
At least that's the one that Velikovsky mentions.
That's where you go to look for fulgurites.
Well, it's just a story, and we wouldn't really know if it actually hit the lake, although there's pretty good... I mean, I would take them at their word now. Before that, but now that I'm an adult and I realize they were probably not lying. But this is a story.
What was the expected... What was the approximate date that happened?
Well, it would have been a story about the end of the Etruscans, and it was made by the Romans, so it would have been prior to, I guess, 700, but I don't know how far back, and it would have been a story that was able to be told.
BC,
so,
BC,
yes.
Before Christ.
Yeah, so this would be 2,700 years ago or prior, could be out to the last big events, which would have been about, 500 years before that, so 1200 BC would probably, that would be a good guess in my opinion, but I don't know.
It's Etruscans, something about them.
Yeah, they're like that the Russian thing
merged.
comes in, yeah.
They fought a lot with the Romans for a long time, as far as I understand, and in the end they they say they conquered the Etruscans, but the truth is that they intermarried in the nobility in the end, and they've been merged into one. And that became the Roman Empire.
Kind of like Andalusia there in Spain, where it was like, we're going to go conquer them, and then they just were like living along the border, and then everyone got, like, the people who ran the place got corrupt, and they were like, you know what, I'm going to leave while the leaving's good, and then people were like, Oh, and then sort of just merged. That's why the books were not burnt and everything when they went to that place. So that's why we have all we have today, pretty much.
Well, what I just said, I think that's kind of boils it down into, very small nutshell. But what strikes me is that we still allegedly are not capable of translating the Etruscan texts, even though it merged into the Roman Empire.
I wondered if that had something to do with something that we would do, or what the church would have done, like where they would go into a place and go, "You can't speak your own language," type of feeling, like they did to the Welsh and other people like that. Or I'm just thinking, maybe they did something like that.
Could be.
Well, it's a very runic anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mirror image, which is kind of stupid.
Yeah.
It does kind of look acrylic. Like, I mean, I can see where the idea that was kind of Russianish, comes in.
Well, Etruscans, et Rus.
Yeah.
Et Rus. Right, Eugene?
Rus, yeah.
I'm still compelled by that idea.
Eugene's an Etruscan.
Yes, he's an Etruscan, for sure.
It's right there. It's the third, fourth, and fifth letter.
I wonder if they're only mysterious because we think of them as an entire culture, and they weren't really an entire culture. They were it was just part of the Tartar Empire, and then the whatchamacallits the Romans came over and said, "Hey, this is our stuff now." And they, I just keep on thinking of that kind of thing, and they sort of took over the peninsula and then had a chance
to read it right to left or left to right.
I have no idea.
So this is not understood, right? We don't know what it means. Is that correct?
That's correct. There has been somebody who was...
Well,
some acrylic people said that they could translate it.
But not really. Yeah, but it's not really understood yet. At least that's what I understand.
I actually write like that sometime in my notebook, from right to left in mirror image.
Can you do that?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Well, to me at least.
Do you do it with your right hand or left hand?
I'm left-handed, yeah.
Okay. Terrence signs his name backwards. It's wild.
That's cool. Well, he writes backwards too, and
wild.
I think yeah, it's cool. I think Heather has some video of him writing backwards.
That's really cool.
Yeah. By the way, on this Observing the Frontier Ben's conference, it's on the the main page. It's there a photo of me with my notebook.
Oh, nice! All right. All right.
Popped right up.
Oh.
So,
is this right here?
Yeah, this is me.
All right. You're famous.
Yeah.
The hand models. That's it. Yeah. Nice mudra you got going on.
Do you know that
in the old days I never wanted to make notes, and nowadays I still do, and I see Eugene does as well. I know Eugene does as well, and people still really look at it like you handwrite. You have a notebook. Wow.
Do you use script?
Antique, or
yeah, I can't figure that out either. Like, I can't understand how you can function without a pen and a paper beside you, like at all times. Like,
same here.
I moved into a paperless office, and I'm like, I'm freaking the hell out here, man.
Yeah.
How many of us keep journals? Come on, let's hands up. I do.
Hands up.
I have a production journal for this show alone that's probably 2 books long.
I know, right? I have like a journal for each thing.
Yeah.
Several.
I call it video production. That's where it's at. So
I've never felt more in place in life than when I have a backpack full of empty notebooks that are, or like with just beginnings, for many different subjects. That's a good spot to be.
Well, unless of course you're trapped somewhere and you can't eat notebooks, but you can burn them. So at least you got that going for you.
Hey, it's not saying it's my bug out bag, yo.